people talk about the early days of Kiss FM and say they would have died without Kiss, and I believe them, because as a DJ I would have. It was the absolute thing that made sense to me. After DJing in the sound system for a few years, you kind of went along and you thought, okay, this is a hobby, where's it taking me? I started amassing loads of records, and I started looking at them thinking, well, you know, this is a bit of a burden now. I've got so many records, what am I doing with them? You know, I'm not going to be Mr. DJ. I'm never going to DJ for a living. I never wanted to. So I'm like, this pirate station comes along, and I'm like, yeah, I want to be part of this. Norman Jay was part of it. Paul Anderson was part of it. My Little Heroes were part of it. You know, I want to definitely be part of this.
Who contacted us to get on Kiss FM was a guy called Tosca. He was partners with Gordon Mack at the time. And he called Norman. He actually came to the meeting here in this room to see if he can recruit DJs.
And then one day I was at home at my mum's. Phone rings. It's Tosca on the phone. And he said, Norman, remember that radio station we were talking about starting up? I said, yeah. He said, well, we're going on air this week. And I'm like, oh, wicked, fantastic. And then he asked me if I'd be interested in doing a show, which really took me by surprise, because up until then I never saw myself on radio at all. So I said, well, I was in an hour and I don't know, Tosk, mate. Give me a few weeks to think about it. And then he just said quite abruptly, well, you've no time to think about it because you're on air tomorrow at 7:30. Bye. And put the phone down.
Pirate Radio offered the listeners something they couldn't get on legal radio. It offered them all the latest tunes, because there's no in cahoots with any record companies or anything like that. It was like listening to a club or whatever. It was DJs playing, their favourite tunes.
The music wasn't played on commercial stations because, by its very nature, it was deemed by the powers that be, you know, in UK broadcasting, that this music was uncommercial. They really weren't into it like myself, you know, who was into it for music's sake, because people simply wanted to hear good music. You have to remember, commercial radio is commercially driven. It's a business. With us, we were just enthusiastic amateur hams. We were fans, basically, who were doing it out of some innocent love. You know, just a chance to be able to share with anyone who could be bothered to listen, to share our tastes and our feelings for music.
He'd talk for like 5 minutes at the start of the show, which was his trademark. He'd play Windy City, this theme tune. Windy City, dun, 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 dun. And you get the goosebumps. You'd be like, oh yeah, Norman's on. And then he'd talk, welcome to the Rare Groove Show with me, Norman Jay. And then he'd go on talking and talking and talking and talking and talking about what's in the show, about where he's been that week, about anything. He'd just talk, which is sacrilegious in terms of real radio. But on Pirate, you can do what you like. And then he'd say, halfway through the show, tonight, the party is at, don't tell anybody though. he'd go, keep it under your hat. But the party's at such and such a place. But don't tell anyone. I thought, does he think we're completely stupid? Or but people were like, Tone, the party's at thingy. I heard it on Norman's show. And then you get everyone turning up. It was hilarious, but he'd do it all the time.
On test.
Welcome back to the radical sound of Young London. That is Kiss 94 FM. Once again broadcasting to London and the home counties. Norman Jay's original Rare Groove Show. If you've just tuned in, welcome back. It's great to have you along. But first thing is, get on the phones, let your friends, let your family, let everyone know that Kiss FM is back. The smile on your dial. Radical Radio.
We did this party on Chiswick High Road called Haunted House. in this huge Victorian 3-storey house which had just been converted into flats. And we'd been eyeing up this place for weeks, driving past, thinking, wouldn't it be great to do a party there? We'd promoted this party. Bear in mind, we hadn't even got in yet, so we didn't even know we could pull this thing off. Ed, being long and wiry, put his hand through the letterbox. Lo and behold, keys there. Result, we're in. But unknown to us, there was a woman and a bloke from the council or the estates that owned the building standing right across the road, watching us. So we just fronted it out. She came over, asked what we were doing. She gave the game away by going, what do you mean? You mean you haven't got the place ready? I'm moving in Monday. I'm going, all right, madam, calm down. Because we had overalls on. And we took down the for sale sign, which was a master thing, because we were in overalls. No one questioned us. We took the for sale or the sold sign down and put it in the front garden. I thought, God, what a squeeze. And the bloke standing there with his clipboard, thought, oh, thank goodness. I just reassured her. We said, don't worry, madam. You know, we'll get a few boys in, we'll go in there, we'll finish a bit of carpentry, we'll da-da-da. Blagged it brilliantly. It was all flats. Freshly carpeted flats with big shag park carpets, fitted kitchen, you know, washing machine, cookers, everything. I mean, we would never have taken stuff like that. We just wanted to do the party, but, you know, you can't legislate for what the people who come to the party do. It was brilliant. You know, about 500 people all turned up in one go. Oh, it's a party in Chiswick. You know, shaking finger pop. That's all they knew. Right, everyone was on the district line, out at the West End, getting out at Chiswick, people everywhere. The old Bill's thinking, what's going on? It must be a football match or something. Where are all these people going? So there were so many people, we just let them all in. Didn't even bother to come in. And all these hippies and sort of crusties hanging off the roof, drinking, chucking cans of beer at the old Bill. Complete anarchy. I was worried about how we were getting out there because the old Bill was just playing a waiting game. Okay, we won't go in and stop you now. Have your fun, but we'll catch the ringleaders in the morning. So we were sweating about that. So I got on the microphone and asked everybody to stay behind and give us a hand to de-rig the sound. We de-rigged and everyone carried a bit of the sound system out. We all left at the same time, jostled the police, and they really didn't know what was happening. And one of them collared me, and I said, the geezer you want, top floor. So they pushed past us, the old Bill went in, we disappeared, and we got away with it. And let me show you something.
Hampstead and...
This was the house.
Yeah, that's the house. Yeah.
Right here, on this corner.
So it looks brilliant from there. So,
Yeah.
But when you go in, it's all different flats.
Yeah, but it was massive. People were hanging out the windows, out the roof, all that thing.
It's great.
Yeah. Because we called it the haunted house. And the police basically blocked up here. And it was right, and I'll talk about shitting on your own doorstep. Yeah, that was dread. And that was the start of Family Function and Shaking Finger Pop. Found the gig, or found the venue, called me up about a week later. And we went down to have a look at it, and it was this disused warehouse round on the south bank of Southwark Bridge. Found our way up to the first floor, which wasn't so bad, had real potential. And I took one look at that and I said to Mark, right, this is the floor we're having. Mainly because I knew we were bringing in the gear by hand. And then we went up and had a look at the second floor, which needed quite a lot more work. And basically said to Jules, you have that floor. And they were delighted to have that floor, so that was fine.
We had tables and chairs set out. We're going to show a cinema. We're going to have five-a-side football in this venue. It was so big. And the day before, a friend of mine was clearing out rubbish and he kicked the door and somebody in an office heard the noise and contacted the police.
And the police showed up at about 7 in the evening with in their riot vans. There must have been about 6 vans. There were only about 8 of us, you know, getting things ready, getting the rigs ready, getting the lighting ready. And, you know, we saw them coming down the alleyway and it was absolutely absurd. So they came out and they didn't have riot shields, but they had their 6 vans and there must have been about 30 of them.
And when the police came down, we said, oh, we're from some charity and this and that. Can you prove it? We said, yeah, we're just waiting for the owner to come down. Police weren't having it.
And they basically made it extremely clear that in their patch, which is just on the north side of the river, and City Police, that they were not going to allow a warehouse party to happen that night.
So we were like, man, we've told everybody and their mum about this party. We were expecting, you know, a few hundred people, if not up to 1,000 people.
But they literally said to us, you know, just go over the river and bother the Met with your party, and I'm sure nobody from our side of the divide is going to worry too much about it. So that's just what we did. We went and literally procured entrance into a warehouse that was literally a stone's throw across the Thames on the South Bank.
The good thing was we were so proficient and organised at rigging. We had the whole place rigged up, sound and basic minimal lights, in less than 2 hours. From my vantage point on the first floor, I just saw hordes of people literally walking over Southwark Bridge. It was like the Pied Piper of Hamelin. Cars couldn't cross the bridge for people trying to find this venue.
It was one of our first warehouses with them, and literally executing the event was a problem because our generator was buggered.
I think they must have put water in it instead of diesel.
And, you know, in those days we didn't think about implementing a plan to have 2 generators in place or to have any kind of backup at all.
So, necessity being the mother of invention, we hooked up the whole sound system, lights and all, to the street lamp at the top of the ramp.
We didn't wire up into 13 amp 3-pin plugs. Our things were bare-ended wired over someone's house into the telephone pole with this great big fat fuse, you know, this sort of makeshift fuse ball made, this great big fuse, and then you just put your wires in there and wired it up.
Which at the time we didn't realise obviously would be on a timer. And we're full steam at the party, swinging at 5 o'clock in the morning. And then everything just went dead.
Turn off the light.
Then people just spontaneously clapped and applauded because we had it wired up to the street lamp. Everyone just went, genius, brilliant.
And I remember sitting with a room, a sort of storeroom full of money all over the floor, with us all holding the door, whilst another member of our little team showed a senior police officer from Southwark Police Station around the rest of the building, saying, I know nothing about the promoters or their whereabouts. They've all disappeared and they've left me to sort of clear up the mess.
We were smart anyway about dealing with the police. We just put the white boys up front, straight up. The police fell for it every time. In fact, white boys with the right accents up front, not just any old white boy. And it just worked. The police will fall for it every time.
We made history. We became legends overnight. That one party set us up forever.